Treasure. Where the heck did you go? It seemed like we couldn't go 2 years without a new game from the 2D and 3D shooter enthusiasts. But here we are in 2018, and besides the port of Ikaruga on the Switch, the last game that Treasure had developed was a Japan-exclusive 3DS action game called Geist Crusher back in 2013, meaning we haven't seen anything new out of Treasure for 5 years now. So, as I sit here wondering if we'll get another Sin and Punish murder, flat out anything from these guys ever again, why don't we look back at their debut into the gaming scene, Gunstar Heroes. Gunstar Heroes is a run-and-gun shooter. It started off on the Genesis, and since then it's been ported to various platforms like 3DS, Wii, XBLA, and PSN, though never a compilation like Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, which I always thought was weird considering how well received this game was. Gunstar Heroes also got a sequel/reimagining thing called Gunstar Superheroes for the GBA, but that's a game we'll talk about another time. For now, let's just focus on Gunstar Heroes as we dive into the story. Many years ago, an extremely powerful robot named Gold and Silver was used as a weapon to destroy civilization from the moon. Thanks to the Gunstar family comprised of red, blue, green, and yellow, Gold and Silver was defeated, and the 4 gems that served as its power source were taken and hidden around the Earth. The Gunstars then put themselves in stasis on the moon to wait as civilization rebuilt itself. Time passes and Gold and Silver is nowadays seen as a god figure, with the story being that if he awakens, he will send humanity to paradise. General Gray, leader of the Empire, sends an expedition to look for the 4 gems and awaken Gold and Silver. The leader of the expedition, Professor Brown, finds the remaining Gunstars in their stasis pods. Upon being awakened, the Gunstars learn of the Empire's plan, and learn that their older brother Green has lost his memories and is helping the Empire to resurrect Gold and Silver. The Gunstars convince Professor Brown to join them as they team up in order to take down the Empire and prevent the return of Gold and Silver. Now, none of this explains why the intro has nothing to do with really anything, but still, there's the story. You start off the game by choosing your preferred control scheme and a starting weapon. The control schemes are free shot, which means you can move around while shooting, and fixed shot, which means you stay put when you fire. There are 4 weapons that you can use in this game, those being Force, a standard machine gun, Lightning, a straight laser that pierces through enemies, Chaser, a homing machine gun, and Flame, a short-range flamethrower. After you pick your control scheme and starting weapon, you can pick which of the 4 stages you would like to play. Orange stage, pink stage, black stage, and green stage. In these stages, you do what the genre says and run around shooting stuff. You can jump, shoot, slide, cling onto stuff, and attack, as well as throw enemies up close. Enemies can drop 2 things, health pickups, which by the way is a little odd in this game with your health being represented as a numeric counter in the top left, and weapons. You can swap your weapon for a weapon that the enemy dropped, but the main thing about this game is that you can hold 2 weapons at once, and depending on what 2 weapons you have, they will both be used to create a new weapon. I may have said weapons 6 times in that sentence, but still, this is pretty cool. This in turn raises the initial 4 weapons up to a total of 14, all with different abilities. Sure, you can combine a weapon with itself to get a stronger, faster, and/or bigger version of that weapon. The combinations like Lightning and Fire, which has short range but incredible power, and Force and Fire, whose explosive blasts are great for crowd control, add turns of versatility to your arsenal. Every combination excels at different moments in the game, and better yet, most of these weapons can be used throughout the entire game with minimal issue, making replays incredibly fun and different. Though there are 2 things that keep this game from being a cakewalk. 1, while you may have a lot of health, you only have 1 life, and continuing brings you back to the beginning of the stage, and speaking of, 2 is the stages themselves. Orange and pink aren't that crazy, but green stage is a fast-paced auto-scroller, mainly comprised of a boss fight against Seven Force, a transforming robot that, as the name implies, has 7 forms. Then, there's Black Stage, who is probably the most infamous. After a short sequence of shooting everything in sight, you enter his Dice Palace. You throw the dice, and depending on where you land, you either fight a boss, get some health and power-ups, do a platforming challenge, or at the tail end of the board, can get sent back to start. Thankfully, the spaces you landed on don't get replenished, but it's still a bit tedious when it happens. After you beat the 4 stages, Yellow gets kidnapped with General Gray wanting the gems in exchange for her back. You run through a pretty run-of-the-mills 5th stage to get yellow back, you play through a 6th stage that's mostly a space shooter segment, and finally the 7th stage is a boss rush that finishes off with a final battle against the newly revived Gold and Silver. This game gets really hectic really fast, and if you can match up with the speed of it, then you'll be able to let loose and enjoy the high-octane and wacky ride. If not, well, there is an easy mode that increases the damage of your weapons, decreases how much damage you take, and it shortens the length of some bosses like 7th Force by skipping some of their phases. It's great for people that feel overwhelmed by what the game throws at you normally, so go for that if you need to ease yourself into the game. Gunstar Heroes is seen as one of the best games ever made, and it's clear to see why. While it is simple, the weapons, mobility, control, and satisfaction of beating a tough boss are all just amazing. And the fact that this was Treasure's first attempt at making a game and it ended up being this good says a lot about how good they are at their craft, and I'll be sure to tell you guys more examples of their quality titles, but that's for another time. For now, that is all I have to say about Gunstar Heroes. As always, let me know what you guys think about this game, but only if you want to. Thank you guys so much for watching, be safe out there, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.